We're Kyler and Cody McCormick, two brothers on a journey to pave our own path while chasing our passion.
While building our adventure filmmaking brand, The Outbound Life, we've become sponsored by some of the top brands in the film and travel industries, acquired Fortune 500 clients, and have spoken on stages all across the country sharing our story.
We now invite you along on our journey as we sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs, creators, and diverse thought leaders to discuss how to live a life we consider outbound, a life where you believe your story matters and live beyond your limits.
Come along and live the outbound life.
Guys, today we have a real treat in front of us, and it's funny how life works, that sometimes just the most seemingly random pieces can connect, and you end up meeting these interesting characters and learn so much from them. Who we're having a chat with today, I had the chance to meet a few months back, actually on a film set, but that's the story we're going to get into, guys. Who we have today is Sam Baldoni. And guys, Sam is known as a marketing visionary. He's enjoyed a long and successful career in the entertainment industry. Sam is widely known as one of the founding fathers of the multi-billion-dollar product placement business. He launched Baldoni Entertainment while lending his advertising and product marketing expertise on Spielberg's Gremlins. The company quickly became the most profitable product placement in the industry and worked on nearly every major feature film with every major studio. Nowadays, Baldoni sits on the board of Wayfarer Foundation, and he is also the Vice President, Brand Partnerships, and Executive Producer at Wayfarer Entertainment. Sam, thanks for being here with us today.
Hey, it's my pleasure to be with you guys. This is kind of fun. The outbound life.
Here we are.
We're so excited to learn more about your story. And as we were kind of chatting before we started recording, Kyler had the pleasure of meeting you months back, but I haven't. So this is the first time I'm getting to learn more of your story. I've definitely learned a lot through Kyler, hearing just kind of the excitement you have for life. And I gotta say, it's contagious. Even being second removed, it truly is contagious. And what better time to talk about this stuff than, world's going through COVID right now.
We're all locked in our basements. I guess we can find time for a conversation or two.
I mean, literally everyone had a life plan for 2020, and nobody knows what's going to happen. And I think it's kind of made a lot of us have to reconsider, replan, take another look at what's going on right now. I'm curious how COVID's been affecting you, and with that, where are you based out of, Sam?
I'm in Los Angeles. We're spending COVID in our home. Welcome to the Baldoni house.
Yep.
And I spend a lot of time in my backyard, literally. I do a little, every now and then I'll go on Instagram and call myself Backyard Sam, and I kind of walk around, show people my lemon tree and how proud I am of my plants and my new tomatoes and, silly stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm still communicating with people, and it was a good time for me to think about all those folks that I haven't talked to and seeing how they're doing and sending little texts and just reminders that we're thinking about them, and hopefully they're all staying safe in this crazy time we're living in.
So a little pause has been beneficial in your perspective of just kind of getting more time to kind of get outside and reconnect with some friends.
It's such a nuanced thing that it's probably hard to say, this has been a positive, but right. I would agree, just like the longer I spend with this, you do get in a groove. Cody and I were on Zoom calls all day, every day, seems most of the world. And it's amazing how much we as people, we find a new way to live and we find silver linings in it. But Sam, we met in a really fun way. A documentary that you worked on years ago with your son, Justin, really changed my life. And to be honest, it was quite frankly one of the driving forces behind why I decided I was going to get on the filmmaking train. I'll return a little later to how this led to our paths eventually crossing. But first, can you share a bit about the My Last Days series and specifically the story of Zach Sobiech?
Well, interestingly enough, My Last Days series really started with Zach. Zach Sobiech was just an incredible young man, but the series itself is about people that are living their lives with a purpose. Mm-hmm. The only thing different about them is that they've been given a death sentence by their doctors. See, so it's not about how they're living, it's not about that they're dying, it's about how they're living with a death sentence. And Zach was pretty amazing kid. Justin had heard about him. Justin was in Italy, actually. He had gone there to meet his future in-laws, and he was in Italy. He got a newspaper. It was a USA Today, and he read the story about this kid who wrote a song called Clouds, and he had to meet him. So he did meet him, and then we actually did our story about Zach, who he wrote the song Clouds is basically the story of, I wish I had more time to be with you. It's a love story and a love song. And when I first met Zach and we turned the cameras on, he looked into the camera and he said, "Hi, my name's Zach Sobiak. My doctors tell me I'm 17 years old and my doctors tell me I don't have very long to live. I just want everyone to know that you don't have to find out you're dying to start living."
Wow.
And that was from a 17-year-old kid. And I'm like blown away. The intensity of his being, his love, his spirit was just so dynamic. And everyone he met, he touched in some way. And, we had the pleasure of actually being with his family for a week to do some fun things with him, to do some things that we didn't even realize would be a big deal.
Yeah.
But they were a big deal, and they were a huge deal. And it taught us all a valuable lesson about life. Don't take it for granted. And little things can be very, very big things. And I think that that's really what came out of it for me was a bit of a life change and a bit of an understanding more of the human spirit. And all of us have it. Sometimes we just get bogged down into our daily lives and bogged down into misery and dwelling on it. And I think it's really something to see, and it wakes people up when they see people who are literally on a short fuse, but living their lives with purpose.
It's really interesting because you phrase it so simply by saying these are my last days. These are people who are living with purpose. And it just so happens, some of them are on their deathbed, right? But it's interesting just talking about how that is a choice. It is something that it seems like tragedy has a way of bringing about that awareness of the value of somebody's life in somebody's community and their friend circle. And what you guys did that was so impactful to me and so many. I mean, you went in and you shared these stories with the world. For me personally, it was kind of twofold, seeing that one, somebody like Zach, their story, it brought me perspective and it made me want to be a better brother and a better friend and a better son and everything that I was. But also it showed me the power of storytelling. It showed me that, like this medium of documentary filmmaking, this could be one of the most powerful things that exist on the planet. Like how you can take a story and suddenly, of course you couldn't predict where it would go, but millions of people ended up having their eyes opened. And you can only imagine the countless stories you'll never even hear of people all around the planet who are having their lives impacted by this story. Bringing this particular story full circle, when I heard years later, and I think this was probably about 6 years after I had first seen that Zach Sobiak documentary, I was reading that this had been acquired by Warner Bros. It's going to be turned into a feature film, and your son Justin is directing it. I was like, okay, pause. This this felt like something that represented such a turning point in my life that I said, you know what, I have to try to get in touch with Justin and share how he changed my life. So sure enough, one night I made a video to him and explained, the story of that impact. And he was incredible and actually invited me out to come out on set of Clouds in Montreal, which was one of these memories that I'm going to hold on to forever. I'm curious from your perspective, because yes, you had the chance to meet Zach, and obviously, the Sobiak family is, it's a family you guys have gotten to know and become such dear friends with and grow so close with over the years. What was it like for you seeing that story being honored in such a profound way after all these years?
It became a reality to me when we had our first table read. to see all the actors, to have Laura, Zach's mom there, and to go through the story, because I relived every moment of it. I was in tears half the time, throughout the thing. And it was so emotional that the reader who was reading, the story breaks and the changes, couldn't finish. I mean, he was like so emotional, and we were all like so emotional, and it just brought back every memory that I ever had of being with Zach and being with the family. And then, just having it all come to life was extremely emotional for me, but yet so rewarding to see and to know that Zach's story is going to be seen by millions and millions of people around the world, hundreds of millions probably by the end of it all. And now we're not going to be releasing in theaters. Everybody's at home.
Right.
So we're going to be streaming. It's going to be a major streaming partner. In fact, it's a history-making streaming partner. It's going to be pretty well received, I think, throughout the world. So watch for it. It'll probably come out late summer.
Okay.
Wow.
And, you guys will all be able to see it. The announcement hasn't been made yet, so I can't make it now with you.
Sure.
What streaming service, but I can tell you this: it's over 50 million plus homes that it's in now, and I'm sure that with the promotion that's going to happen, it's going to be in probably a lot more homes, and people will want to buy it and want to see it. So I'm very, very excited about it. And like I said, when you do find out where it is, you'll also find out that it's history making, in that this company has never bought a movie that they hadn't, never released a movie that they hadn't made themselves. So it's going to be very interesting. And I think it shows exactly the heart and soul of the movie, that it is so embraced by this company that is putting it out, with such love and intent.
Well, I'm so excited, and from kind of a removed perspective, it's cool to see how you guys are taking steps to innovate, especially during this time, and make sure that story is really seen by the people that need to hear this story. Because I think for me, as the older brother to Kyler, I got to watch in Kyler's younger years him grasp onto this story, and then I got to see how it truly impacted his life, both from just one, it being a phenomenal story and something that really gripped Kyler's heart, but two, to see how, like Kyler was saying, just the power of storytelling gripped Kyler, and to see Kyler kind of go from, I mean, I don't even know the year it was, but it was probably back in Kyler's middle school days when
2012.
Cody, that would have been high school.
High school? Okay.
On Clouds, yeah.
Yeah, but just kind of like to see you really then push into filmmaking, and like your eyes lit up. You had this passion for wanting to be a storyteller, and then I was more so trying to pursue like a business route. Had just graduated high school, was starting to take online classes for college to pursue a business entrepreneurship degree, and that's when Kyler and I really created our alliance, and we're like, all right, let's do this together. And so it was through that, like, I just want to point out the power that story has to change so many lives, and it has a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Because it not only just changed like Kyler's trajectory, it changed mine. Then it's changed however many people, I've gotten to see the work of the Outbound Life over the years and then beyond, right? So it's just like, it is so crazy just in that small, like, I feel like we're such a small...
Yeah, right. Like, we're just one example of this immeasurable ripple effect that came from this documentary.
Yeah. And, Kyler and I can't even fully relate to the side of, like, having a young friend, be told by a doctor that he only has X amount of days to live. So it's like, it's just wild to see that. But I'm so excited to be able to watch Clouds, and we're going to be staying tuned for when that release comes out, and we'll definitely be sharing it.
Interestingly enough, guys, this series has spawned 2 movies. My Last Days has spawned 2 movies. The first one that came out was about Claire Wineland. It was inspired by Claire Wineland, who was a girl with cystic fibrosis, who was, talk about living life with a purpose. Wow. She was amazing. And she inspired Justin to create 5 Feet Apart, which is now life imitating art, because we are all in the same situation as a CFer who have to stay 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
Or they could end up, with a horrible infection and die.
Wow.
And so here we are now. Everyone's wearing masks, and we're all kind of in that same boat. And that was a movie that I think touched a lot of hearts.
Yes.
And again, it was based on a real person, a real inspirational and loving person who Haley Lu just brought to life. And unfortunately, Claire wasn't able to see the movie. She had gone into the hospital and was going to get her lung transplant. This is a big deal. She had kind of said no for a long time, and she finally said yes. And as fate would have it, she didn't make it. She got an infection and passed away. So she wasn't able to see the movie, but it was dedicated to her. And I think a lot of good information came out for all the CFers and the CF community. And I think it's helping, raise money to find a cure for cystic fibrosis as well. So these are the kinds of things that you don't expect,
right?
But when they happen, you're just so moved by them and so thrilled that it can move into something like that.
Well, I was just going to say, and what a whole new perspective that I think much of the world is grasping right now, to be able to understand some people that have had to live like that for years and years, and now everybody's getting to experience that in some way, and it's just become a lot more real to people, but it creates more of that understanding, sensitivity, whatever you want to name it. It helps people connect better to people's stories that have gone through that in the past.
Oh yeah. I mean, before you'd see somebody in a mask, you think they were a germaphobe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, but there's a reason for that. And life has changed, and guys, life has changed permanently.
Yeah.
We just have to adjust and adapt. And I think that's the beauty of being creatives, because that's what we always do.
That's the job, to adapt.
That's the job.
Right.
Yep. That's the job.
So speaking of the job, and Sam, for you, it's been such a roller coaster. Like that was one of the most fun parts of being on that set months back, was hearing about your roller coaster ride and how one thing led to another, and then man, you're working with Spielberg, and it's something you could never predict. And so that's something I want to talk about here. It's, where did that career journey for you all begin? Where did showbiz enter your story?
It wasn't really in my DNA to be in the film industry. I was being brought up as the son of a senator. I was, I was in that song, The Senator's Son. So I had a bit of privilege growing up, but it wasn't real privilege. I mean, we didn't come from a wealthy family or anything.
Yeah.
But my dad always saw me as, we'd watch television together as a kid growing up. And what really struck me is I remember him saying, you could do that.
Uh-huh.
You could do that, and it was like, oh, I could be on TV like that guy. So I think that kind of stuck in me.
Yeah.
And after college, I went on to grad school. I was at Washington University School of Medicine. I was studying healthcare administration. I met some guys who lived in Park City, Utah.
Cool.
And so they said, you got to come to Park City, got to come to Park City. And it's so much fun and so many women and, all the things that a young guy wants to hear.
Sure.
So I did a residency in Omaha, Nebraska, and then I went from there to Park City. While in Park City, I get a call from a guy named Sam Mercantini, who was the chairman of the Democratic Party for the state of Indiana.
Interesting.
And he called me and he said, Sam, would you come back to South Bend and work with Vance Hartke in his campaign to run for his 4th term in the United States Senate? And I said, sure. I mean, it was a paid gig. I wasn't really working. So I went back to South Bend, worked on the senator's staff. And then we got into a little dispute. He had gone through a rough primary battle. And here he is, a 4-term senator, and he's running against someone in his own party. And he got real drunk. I had set up a meeting at my uncle's restaurant. And here this guy sat, and he got so drunk and belligerent, telling him he didn't need anybody. And I had hooked him up with the owner of the largest trucking company in probably the United States. And he sat there and just completely blew everybody off. So I had to drive him from South Bend, Indiana to Indianapolis, which is a 2.5-hour drive.
Totally. Yeah. We're familiar with the area.
Yeah. So I get in the car, he gets in the car, and I start to drive, and he looks at me and he says, "What's on your mind?" I said, "Nothing, Senator. You have a 2.5-hour drive. You have a big day tomorrow. So, you should definitely get some sleep." And he goes, "No, you tell me what you're thinking." And he forced me. And so I looked at him and I said, "You know what, Senator? You're going to lose this election. And you know why? Because you're an arrogant son of a bitch, and you proved it today." He didn't say another word to me. I get to Indianapolis. I get him out of the car. I go up to my room. I pack my bags because I figure I'm out of there.
Right.
The next morning I get a call, and it's Sam Mercantini, the chairman of the party. And I said, "Hi, Sam." He goes, "Sam, what happened last night?" And I said, "Listen, I'm packing my bags. I'm leaving." And he goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Yeah. Aren't I fired? Didn't I get fired?" He goes, "No." He said, "The senator called me. He said he wants you on his United States Senate payroll as his legislative aide. And he said, you're the only person on this campaign that's been honest with him."
Wow.
So as a result, I ended up a full Senate staffer with full Senate pay. And he did lose the election, but he won in my area, but he did lose the election. And I ended up on full Senate pay from November 2nd till January 20th. So I gave them my Park City post office address, and I ended up getting paychecks. So I didn't have to work.
Wow.
And it was like an extended vacation. So it was really a lot of fun. And during that time, I met a lot of people that were working there, and there was some film activity going on. And so I got to know a lot of these guys that were involved in it. And at the same time, I was just kind of hanging out, not really knowing what I was going to do next. And then one day, these two guys who work with this film company called Sun Classic Pictures came up to me and they said, "Hey, Baldoni, are you ever going to get a job?" And I said, "Yeah, if something good comes along." Not expecting them to offer me. And then the next thing I know, they offered me a job in the editing room on Life and Times of Grizzly Adams, which is a pretty big series back then. And I became an apprentice film editor. And while being an apprentice film editor, actually using my hands to physically cut film and to cut sound and to make bare sounds work. And it was pretty fascinating actually to do that. And working on a moviola and splicing film, it was a very much of a learning experience. But to see how films were put together, coming from a place that all I ever did was watch television or go to a movie, but now I'm actually with my hands on film and on the magnetic tape, and I'm actually making things come together, which is pretty cool. While I was doing that, I got to know one of the producers, who was this older gentleman who very sophisticated, beautiful gray hair. And he and I would talk all the time. And one day he came up to me and he said, "Baldoni, you don't belong in the editing room. I'm going to take you out on production. And I'm going to make you an assistant director." And I went, wow, what a cool thing, right? So I get my first job as an assistant director. I'm a second AD, and second ADs do all the choreographing
and no formal training,
extras.
right? I mean, you're just literally you jump in.
No formal training. I had no clue really what I'm doing, honestly. There wasn't a school for me, and so I'm told what to do. We're doing a show called The Last of the Mohicans, and this is a big TV movie for NBC, and so my job is to choreograph a fight scene, a big, like battle, Indians and soldiers, and we have literally hundreds of people on the battlefield with 3 cameras. This is film, guys, so it's expensive. 3 cameras working, and we're at the top of the mountain looking down on the battlefield, and cranes are here, and my job was to choreograph it. So I was so explicit with these extras, and I'm saying, okay, now I'm giving you each numbers. You're going to be number 1. You're going to be number 2. And when you hear me shout out on my megaphone, 1, number 1 will die. When you hear me shout 2, number 2 will die. When you hear me shout 3, number 3 will die. And I had this all over the battlefield. So the director yells, action! And the fight goes on, and it's so exciting. And I'm watching all this stuff, and they're battle. It's time for 1. Everybody died. Died. And it's like the actors are standing there like not knowing what the hell happened. And all the extras are on the ground. And all I could hear is this loud, Baldoni! I thought my days in the film industry were over. It was very embarrassing and very humbling, but they gave me another chance. We got the battle scene done, and it worked great. And I was continually humiliated as they made that part of the Christmas reel that they showed at the big Christmas party. So
that had to feel good.
But it didn't end my career. I actually ended up being assistant to the vice president in charge of production. I wrote the Bible for a series that we ended up selling to NBC called Greatest Heroes of the Bible. And I ended up writing that for them, and they sold it. I spent several years with them and became very good friends with a guy named Jim Conway. Jim went on to become an independent director, and pretty interesting story there.
So I mean, through that journey, obviously, on the film set of The Last of the Mohicans, it's a rough way to learn the right way to do your job, or there was a miscommunication there. But I mean, probably as you're learning on this job, getting thrown into a career path that you didn't get formal education for, I mean, is that just like one example? Are there lots of failures that you kind of went through? Because I'm curious. I feel like that's such a daunting thing to get thrown into a position like that. And then for something to go wrong, like how do you keep pushing on?
Well, it's interesting because that's part of the learning experience. And trust me, it was really, I mean, I'm a people person, but not really understanding, how to work with people, like large groups of people, and feeling like you had to give orders and you had to make them, like this. And it was very strict kind of thing. And it was absolutely the wrong thing to do, because what you learn through life is you do things with love and you do things with compassion. And as passionate as you might be about something, you have to still remember that it's not that important. What's more important is the relationship that you're building.
Right.
So going through all of that, I took a lot of wrong steps because I didn't know.
Yeah.
And probably I had to take them so that I would learn firsthand how to treat people. And you don't make demands, but you do things with suggestions. And hey, maybe this can be a better way to try this? Let's try it and see. Instead of, hey, get over here and do this.
Right.
That's a very interesting point on the perspective of how to deal with people or how to relate. And that actually in life, the priority is the relationship built with people. The priority is living life in community with people over personal growth, personal, achievement. And I think that in today's society, it's interesting watching so many people strive for greatness, strive for success, and yet that is just a backwards philosophy because it's about the people. It's about, you don't want to get to, some like a position like Zach Sobiek and, end up in your last days and figure out that you've achieved all these things, but people aren't there around you. And I think that, that's just so interesting because I think everybody in every respective career, whatever you do in life, that's so paramount is being able to relate with people, to be able to work with people, and to put people first. So I think that's definitely something that I'm going to take away from the conversation. And I've definitely seen it firsthand of when Kyler and I are working on deals, when you try and maybe strong arm something, it typically just doesn't work out. It has to be, we found that transparency, being an open book, really working to find a win-win, as we like to say, that's the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting too that as you're talking about these lessons, you're learning as you're climbing through this career in show business. And you would expect the lesson to be, something less obvious than be a good person, love people. And that's what it's about. It's like wrong question. The answer is love people. And then like the rest will kind of work its way. But I want to talk because it's so interesting. So your toes are in the water and you're just climbing. You're getting all these opportunities thrown at you and you're just having the time of your life, it sounds like. And eventually, this is where things start to get interesting is you found a way working in product placement in Hollywood. Where did that come from?
Well, I was producing a documentary on Brooke Shields.
Oh, cool.
And I needed airline tickets. And my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, been my wife for the last 36 years, said to me, "Hon, why don't you try these guys? They always want my clothes for game shows. Maybe they know somebody that can help you get, the tickets you need." So I called them, and there were these two brothers, the Halbert brothers, and they got me $25,000 worth of airline tickets. All I had to do was have Brooke carry a Pan Am flight bag and get on a Pan Am jet. And I said, "Is that legal?" And they said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, I'll do it." Now, interesting, I'd also been, in my role, as as a producer, you always try to make deals. That's your job.
Right.
So this was making a deal that I'd never made before. I'd get free rooms in a hotel for showing the hotel and things like that. You have to be very creative when you don't have money, right? So you find all the ways you can to save and to make things happen. Well, they got me my airline tickets. When I got back from Israel, they called me and said, "Baldoni, we want a guy with a good production background to work with us. We're going into something new." I said, "Well, what are you going to do?" And they said, "We're going to do product placement in movies." And I said, "Yeah, well," and they said, "Look, you can keep your own name. We'll split everything 50-50. We just really need a good production guy to work with us and make this happen." So I said, "Okay, but what are you going to do?" And they said, "Well, we're going to work with Steven Spielberg on Gremlins."
Oh, wow.
And I said, I'll give it a try.
I think I might be able to make some time for that.
So Baldoni Entertainment went headfirst into it.
Wow.
And it was a lot of fun and very rewarding. So I proposed to Sharon, we get married, we go off to Hawaii. I get my first check, which is more money than I had made in one check from one client than I had made the whole year before.
Wow.
So, I thought this is pretty cool, but this might just work.
This is working.
So it was fun for me to do.
And that's on your honeymoon that you got the check?
Yeah.
So you're like, hey,
before I went on my honeymoon,
let's extend this trip like the whole year.
So actually we went to Hawaii, we did the whole thing. It was really a blast. And then, because of that, we were able to actually just start building, our home base. I built Baldoni Entertainment into one of the most profitable and most used companies in product placement. But the reason I think we became, first of all, we never promised anything we couldn't deliver. That was number one. And I think if you go into business with certain morals and you make sure that if people are going to be depending on you, that you don't let them down.
Right.
And I think that was the building block that I started with.
Yeah. Under promise, over deliver.
Under promise, over deliver. And when we did our breakdowns, we would go back to the studios and we'd say, hey, this is why, we called it product integration, not product placement. We took a divergence, and people were going in and they were selling, here, hold this up to the camera. And we were saying, don't hold it up to the camera. We were saying, do it this way. Let's integrate into a storyline. Let's do things that are natural as opposed to, just having it sitting there. You never know who's wearing what shoes, but if somebody says, hey, ladies of the 80s are going for shoes, new Bostonians, $85 a pop, that makes a difference.
Yeah.
And it's like you write it into the storyline, and it right. just changes everything. So you don't have to sell product placement. You basically integrate products into films that are natural and normal, and then you don't have stigma around it.
That's cool to hear how you got into that, and then how you really just kind of ran with it and really found how to work seamlessly with companies that wanted brand recognition or product recognition, and then you guys had the distribution to be able to promote those in an authentic way. And I think like for Kyler and I, actually when we got started, we were those kids that we didn't have money to buy the cameras, we didn't have the money to jump on the flights to go meet with the people we wanted to meet with, but we started to leverage what we had. And at the time we were creating some interesting stories. And I'll never forget, one of the first projects that we did ended up going viral online. It was on like TV channels across the US. So it was this video for a new product that was coming out. It was really exciting. So then we started to leverage the story that project had success, which gave credibility to the brand of the Outbound Life, Kyler and my brand. And then we started going to companies that had the products that we needed to keep making these videos, and we started getting sponsored by them, whether it was in-kind, product sponsorship or, some monetary sponsorship. That's kind of how we built our business. Was we're like, hey, we need to leverage our way into this and keep creating like this staircase to get what we need to keep pushing forward in this business. And I think what was interesting is some of that added credibility. So having some of those sponsored brands a part of our name brand then actually added to our credibility and started getting us bigger and better clients. And so it's funny because we certainly didn't start with like distribution. Like we didn't have, it was like, hey, we have this idea. We're going to go shoot this video. We need this amount of money. And this is the impact we think it's going to have. We need these products in it. And then companies like bought onto the passion that we have. We didn't overpromise like, hey, you're going to get 1 million views, anything like that. It was like, this is what we can offer. We hope, we can get some viewership out of this, but that's what it's going to be. You guys can get some assets out of it. So it's kind of like, I'm curious from your perspective, how you would encourage people that don't have that distribution. Because you really started in a position where you had a position at a company as a producer where you guys had distribution. You were working on movies. You were working on shows that were going to get seen by a lot of people. At least, there was some level of certainty to that. What would you say to somebody that doesn't have that right now? How to start to leverage their way into, creating win-win scenarios?
It's all about the project. And if you have enough faith and enough belief in it, that you believe in it yourself, then your potential is right there. I mean, it's basically about you and about what you believe and what the purpose of that project is. And I always believe that there's a sponsor for everything, because there's so many different types of brands. There's so many different products out there, and they all have different audiences. You look at categories and you say, wow, who's there? And you don't have to go after the Coca-Colas of the world.
Right.
You go after the people who are, who want to get out there and want to get their products shown. I mean, we helped a lot of companies, startups, get into, grocery stores.
Wow.
It's like Horizon Dairy couldn't get on a shelf in Texas. Horizon Dairy couldn't get on a shelf in Texas unless they paid huge slotting fees.
Yeah.
When I was with Aaron Spelling for many years doing all of his production resources, and so we had a show that touched everybody's hearts family wise, and we put Horizon Dairy in it to where they use it for their cereal in the morning, and within 2 weeks they got a call from the very largest grocery chain in Texas.
Wow. And
they got slotted for no money.
Wow.
And so, you think about stuff like that, and the power of it. So it's not like they had a lot of money. They didn't have the money, but we were able to help them and really get them going. And now Horizon Dairy is everywhere. Right. So it's just a matter of, again, there is a way to do anything, and don't let your hopes and dreams die because you think that it's undoable, because it just takes creativity and drive and passion. If it's not your passion, don't do it. You're wasting your own time. I mean, if it's just for money.
Well, I think that
forget
shows
it.
when someone is passionate about something, that typically speaks louder than anything else they could have, whether they had money, credibility.
Sam, like you're saying, like it's you. They're buying you.
Yep.
Do you believe in it?
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to find a way? And I think it's like we get so attached to an approach. We have a story in our head. It should look this way, but it's that ingenuity to say, is there another way to approach this? There's a great quote that I think it might be, and I might be misquoting, but I think from Jeff Bezos, and it just says, stubborn on the vision, flexible on the details. So you have this vision, you feel this story in your heart, and you're like, this could impact people. This could be a big win-win. And then it's, I like how you would dissect these stories and find something that would actually maybe add realism to that story. It wouldn't get in the way. It would help everybody. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious with you, because that seems to be what you're all about. You're always about finding that next deal, that next group hug, a win on all sides. Are there any deals over the years that maybe at first seemed unreachable, but you ended up through that creativity finding a win? And I'd love to hear about that.
No, actually, every deal seemed unreachable. You stop and think about it.
That's amazing to hear.
Yeah, because every deal is unreachable until it's done. And you never know the outcomes. And the point is, you have to be flexible in everything that you do. I mean, I've done a lot of major deals, and we've been able to, capture business that normally we wouldn't have gone out. I'll tell you a story about, I actually purchased another company. They came to me and they were struggling. It was another product placement company out of Cleveland, Ohio, or Columbus, Ohio. And so I bought this company, and one of the clients was Brown-Forman, who makes Jack Daniels. Well, we're Baha'is and we don't drink. Yeah, and so I had a tough thing to do. I had to go meet with these people. So she takes me, this lovely woman who owned the previous company called Center Stage Marketing. And so we went to I believe it was at the time in Tennessee, where they had their major headquarters. And went to meet the Brown-Forman people. And here we are in this big boardroom, right? You can imagine what it looked like. It was old money boardroom, dark
Yeah.
wood everywhere, and all this stuff. And so I'm sitting with the board, and I'm sitting with the all the brand people, and she introduces me, and I just say, "Hey guys, I may not be the right person for you. My company's Baldoni Entertainment. I'm a member of the Baha'i Faith, and I don't believe in romanticizing alcohol. I don't believe in drinking and driving. I don't believe in making children think that it's really cool to drink." And I went through a whole litany of reasons why I don't think it's cool to drink, and I don't think it's cool to promote drinking in movies. And I said, for that reason, I'm probably not your guy. And it went dead silent in the room. Dead silent. And I'm going, and all of a sudden there's a hand that slams down at the table, the chairman of the board, slams down at the table. He goes, "You're exactly who we want."
Wow.
I went, "What?" They wanted to change the image. They wanted to be responsible about their alcohol. And I was then forced to accept them as a client because
right. Probably didn't want that going into it.
Did I win or did I lose?
I'm going down to tell them goodbye, and instead it's hello. And interestingly enough, the guy that was assigned to work with me, who was an assistant brand manager at the time, his name was Paul Varga. And I had this one project that I thought was perfect for them, and they had to do it. And it was called Scent of a Woman. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but it won 7 Academy Awards. Mm-hmm. They couldn't do it. They turned me down. They couldn't do it. And they said, "Look, we're having so much trouble in New York. We just can't do this movie, Sam." And I said, "Look, you got to do this movie. It's going to be an Academy Award winner. It's got everything written on it that says Academy Award."
Yeah.
And finally I convinced him to do it. They did it. The movie won 7 awards. And I get this check in the mail. I get this card from Brown-Forman, and it's a check for $10,000 thanking me for having them do the film.
Yeah.
Wow. Paul Varga went on to become chairman of the board of Brown-Forman. He was the guy that this literally helped launch him into a new hemisphere by doing that movie. I think it really brought so much attention to him and to his work. But anyway, that's a Brown-Forman story, and a company that I went down to say goodbye to, literally.
That's crazy. Like, why to you is it important to stay true to your morals? Because I keep hearing that as like an underlying thing that is so prominent in your life, that you live by, ethics and morals. Why do you keep that forefront in business as well? Well,
honestly, I mean, deep down inside of me, every time that I look the other way, disaster would happen.
Yeah.
And I think through the years, you'll make those mistakes. You'll do something for the wrong reasons, and it turns out very bad. And you don't have to look very far to see why. And I think that if you live your life with purpose, if you live your life knowing that the difference between what's right and what's wrong, and you don't try to convince yourself that doing the wrong thing is the right thing.
Yeah.
Because we all know deep down, we have been given a gift to know the difference, because it's in our souls, it's in our gut, we can feel it. But if we make that step in the wrong direction, it comes back. You may have an instant success, you think, but in the end, you're going to pay the price. And so rather than paying that price, take what the gift is and use it.
That's interesting. No, we had kind of a similar story where we were going to a trade show in Vegas, NAB. Have you gone to NAB?
Yes, I have.
Over there? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So National Association of Broadcasters.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were at NAB and we wanted to create some kind of project because a lot of our sponsors are from NAB, whether, you know, tripod manufacturers, camera manufacturers, whatnot. So we were coming up with like a really creative story to really, it was one of those things. We wanted some compelling story so that when we were on the trade show floor, that we could pitch that, hey, we're doing something really exciting.
Leverage,
right? So it's like,
we need your cameras. We need your cameras.
Exactly. So we were trying to get really creative and we came up with this cool project. And we had a friend that had a connection at MGM, Resorts International. Mm-hmm. So MGM owns a lot of the Las Vegas resorts and whatnot. And this project was funny because basically we, you know, leveraged our way into getting free rooms, all this kind of stuff, and we were going to get them some assets, and there was going to be a project built out around this. But as we're working with their marketing director, you know, again, we're in Las Vegas, and you know, my background's from the Christian faith, and just I tend to live with those morals through everything that I do, and Las Vegas obviously comes with all different kinds of, you know, a different moral ground than I personally like or want to support. But here we're going to be working with a brand, MGM Resorts, you know, which tends to promote a lifestyle that I don't agree with. So we're here trying to work out a deal where we're going to be, you know, doing a collaborative project. And yet I basically sat down with this woman and said, I don't want to be promoting, you know, the misuse of alcohol. I don't want to be promoting women that are sexualized. I don't want to be promoting any of this.
Yeah, like I remember this call and we're laying it out on the table for this woman, and she's like, well, you do realize you're coming to Las Vegas, right?
And yeah, to me, and you know, that's a scary conversation to have. Like we're young guys. I'm probably 21 at the time having this conversation. But it was so important to me that I put my values out there. And if it wasn't meant to be, that's totally fine. We don't have to do this project. But we ended up coming to this point of view that she was like, you know what, guys, I think I like the perspective you guys have. How about we send you up in a helicopter and you guys shoot exterior, you know, video and photos of our properties, and you guys can work that into your project. No need to be like promoting our clubs or anything like that. And, you know, we'll put you up at one of our resorts that doesn't have all that kind of stuff going on. And it was, you know, over the years, we've had a handful of those conversations. They're never, you know, it's always scary to go into them, but it's so important to have those because people you need to be transparent. You need to be that open book to work with people. Otherwise, you're going to end up cheating yourself. You're going to end up cheating others. And like you said, you're probably not the right person for the job. But I don't know. That was a big learning experience for us. And, you know, I think it's given me a lot more courage to put that out there with other clients that we work with.
I think it's very important. I think that if you don't do that, you're selling yourself short. You know, it's really important.
Yeah. You know, Sam, one of the things that's cool with you, it seems like, you know, you have your hands in so many different cookie jars, and one of these is, well, actually really two of them are Wayfarer. So there's Wayfarer Entertainment, and then there's also the Wayfarer Foundation, which, you know, man, I feel like we could talk about for a long time. But without getting off on that rabbit trail, one of the things I've noticed with you and different team members you have is you use this phrase very often, which is be love. And I just want to hear you talk about that. Like, what does that mean to you?
Be love's not like, it's not like I love you. Be love is really, I think it's your soul, because, you know, when it's coming from your soul, it's all about giving love as opposed to, you know, I love you. It's being love. So when you think of it, you know, when you look at other people, I think it was Baba Ramdas who said he would take a picture of a politician and he would put it up on his altar, and somebody he disagreed with, and he would look at it and be love. And when you can see kind of like the beloved in everyone, then that's being love, because it's not about you, it's about what you see. It's your soul, and it's being love. And I think that's what it's built around, because ego is the other side. Ego is built around relationships, right? But the soul isn't. And so if we can remember that, and I think that, the symbol of the words be love, and I signed my emails because I saw my son was signing his emails with be love, and I thought, gee, that's interesting. But it's not about, how we always write yours truly or say I love you. It's not about that at all.
Yeah.
It's about who you are in your soul. And if you're being loved, then you see love in everyone. And so if you can see love in everyone, isn't that a cool thing?
That's beautiful. And I love how, because it's like, I think at first glance, most people who see that, they probably think of the verb of that word, like love, like, be good to people, do something, but it's something you're describing, which is deeper, and it goes beyond, like that ego and that thinking dualistic mind, me, them, good, bad. I like these people, I don't. It's just be love. I love that Ram Dass story. I'd heard that before. I love it, of just like, looking at, I'm not even going to bring up which politicians. I don't want people thinking good or bad things about them. But he looked at this politician and just said, at first glance, I don't think I like this person, but if I just be love and can just hold all of those things, it doesn't matter if I like them or not.
It's not about it at all. But if you practice that, right?
Yeah.
If you practice that, I think that's the true sense of it. And it's just making people aware that it's, that it's real, because your soul is real,
Yeah. Sam, one of the things at the Outbound Life we like to talk about, so we have two core principles at the Outbound Life. The first is believe your story matters, and the second is live beyond your limits. By believing your story matters, basically you seek to live each day fulfilled with purpose. And I'm curious to hear from your perspective if you believe that everybody has a purpose, and if so, can it be discovered?
I absolutely believe everybody has a purpose. And I think it was Mark Twain who said that the two most important days of your life, the day you were born and the day you find out why. So everyone has a purpose, and everyone ultimately finds out why. And I think that's really what life is about. And if we live with purpose, our purpose may change.
Right.
We may think it's one thing, but in being responsive and reactive and sensitive, it may become something else. It may morph into something else. And we find ourselves, because of what we are and who we are and what we do, literally morphing into something else as we move forward. So living life with a purpose doesn't mean that it's like in the box, because it's not.
Yeah, it's continually changing, and it's a journey more than just like having a destination on it. Because I think, so many people can probably say that they're searching for purpose, searching for what they're made for, what they're wired for, and I don't know. I think those that feel that they've come to that place, or really have starting to have more of an understanding of what their purpose is, you really start to see them come alive. And I think that is something that stands out to me. And I like to surround myself with people that are adamant about pursuing that truth, because I feel that those kinds of people, they end up being the ones that, have more of the altruistic view on life. They're trying to help people. They're trying to, if they've made it further, they're trying to pull people along with them. And those are the kinds of people that, certainly I want to do life with.
Yeah. You can't just look at it for money. I think that's where people get lost.
Right.
You gotta, if it's your calling, you can turn your calling into a career.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to know. And there's a way to do it. And if you're creative and if you just put your mind and soul into it, you can make it happen. I firmly believe that.
That's really encouraging. And Sam, I want to be sensitive on your time. And I think as we start to wrap up here, something that I'd love for you to be able to tell the people at home about, if they have not heard about this before, is something really cool that you and your family and different people on your board put on every year. And I think you've been doing it for 6 years now, if I'm correct. And that is the Skid Row Carnival of Love. I'd love to hear about that.
The Skid Row Carnival of Love was created by my son, who I'm extremely proud of. And it all started with he and a group of friends, and they're saying to Justin, "Hey, what do you want to do for your birthday?" And he always said, "Well, let's do something for the homeless." He's had this desire always to do something for the homeless. I know when he was a younger kid, he would go to the soup kitchens and places and the missions and, serve food and things. And so he'd say, "Let's do a clothing drive and a food drive and go down and give them to the homeless on my birthday." So he would do that every year. He would do that. So he got a series called Jane the Virgin. And that year he said, "Dad, let's turn this into a carnival." And so he literally turned became the Skid Row Carnival of Love. He literally went and said, "Let's do it." So he got the parking lot of the Mission, LA Mission. And we had to go out and try to find, of course we didn't have a lot of money. But we had to go out and find like a rock climbing wall and a bouncy house and, fun things and food and clothes. And we did a clothing drive and we did all that. And that was the first year of the Skid Row Carnival of Love. And then from that parking lot, it became a half a street where we started to provide a little more services. And then it went from that half a street to a full street that we'd block off. And then it went from that full street to 2 streets. And the Skid Row Carnival of Love has grown, but it's not about just giving food and giving clothing. It's about services. It's about job services, having people there. It's about dental and medical and, having professionals there for mental health. It's about, the DMV being there to give IDs out and it's about preventative medicine. It's about testing for HIV/AIDS and for other things. And it's for their pets and it's creating, having vets there and grooming services and getting haircuts and just showers and, being able to provide things for them that they just don't have. And in a day, it changes everything for quite some time. And what's come of that, what's sprung from that is Justin created another program called the One-to-One program. And that actually was inspired by the fact that when we serve, thousands of homeless people experiencing homelessness at the carnival. And each one of them, when they come in, it's not like open the gates and everybody floods in. Each one of them are assigned a volunteer. We've had over 2,000 volunteers. And each one has a volunteer. So it's not like just go in and get stuff and leave. It's like, hey, communication, eye-to-eye contact. It's being, like, hey, it's a friend for a day, but yes, maybe that day can become a year. Maybe it can become a lifetime. The point is that the One-to-One program was kind of inspired by that physical contact between, a volunteer and a homeless person, person experiencing homelessness. So the One-to-One program is this: from that day, that person that they connect with, that relationship goes on, and they sign up basically for a year until the next carnival. And if something is needed, the foundation supplies a credit card to the volunteer. And then if they call and they say, hey, I'm trying to go to a job interview, I need a ride, boom, they send an Uber. Let's go out to dinner, and they take them to dinner, but they become a place where they can call if there's a problem, or if they're trying to get, something done and they can't, they need help, whatever it might be. That's the one-to-one program, which is a pretty cool thing. And that goes from, that's the latest thing that we're doing. And that was originally funded by one of our Justin's dear friends, who started it. And it just been amazing. Anyway, the Skid Row Carnival of Love happens every year in January, generally around Justin's birthday, which is January 24th. It's that weekend. This year, however, it's going to be in February, and we hope that it will be held. We don't know what's going to happen, but we have moved it to February. And we hope that the Skid Row Carnival of Love can keep going. And I don't see how it could become a virtual Skid Row Carnival of Love,
totally.
because it's all about, touch and feel and emotion. And, our world's changing, guys. And the most important thing now, I think, is to expedite getting people off the street. So maybe that's how we're going to evolve. With the Skid Row Carnival of Love, it could be the Skid Row shelter in place, and find a place.
Well, let's hope that the world kind of gets back on track by then, and everything can move forward with that, because it sounds like it's such a beneficial thing to the community, and just a beacon of hope that people can look forward to and really get some care out of it.
Yeah, and Cody, I wanted to add something on that, just as Sam was reflecting on the Carnival of Love and even the one-on-one program, that I think is really cool, because I think when I think about or look at oftentimes like this word charity, it's like I see so many times it feels to be misused. I see people going over to a third world country and for a week, maybe 1 week, doing a bunch of stuff, building stuff that maybe the people didn't ask for. And then of course they come back with a new profile picture on Facebook of these kids in some village. And I see, so often it can feel as though, gosh, was that, what did we create a sustainable ongoing solution, or did we feed our own vanity, our own ego, and come back and share, oh, my life has changed forever. But I think what's so cool is I see the intentionality behind what you guys are doing of, you have this Carnival of Love, but then these ongoing relationships, and who knows, maybe that evolves into something for a year, and maybe it looks like an Uber to somebody trying to get back on their feet and getting a new job. So I'm incredibly inspired with what you guys are doing. But with all that said, Sam, super appreciate all of your time here. I know we are incredibly inspired by you and your family, and all your friends and the initiatives you guys are up to. For the people at home, how can they follow along on your journey and all these exciting initiatives you're up to?
They can find Backyard Sam at just at Sam Baldoni on Instagram. That's where I am. And of course, I'd love to have them follow Wayfarer. I think Wayfarer has got a lot of is going to be doing so many great things. There's a new program that Justin created during this calamity that we're in for filmmakers. If you go to you can go to at Sam Baldoni, and you can look in my bio, and you'll see where they're creating this experiment for filmmakers, where 5 filmmakers will be chosen based on what they create during this time, and they'll be granted $50,000.
Wow, what an opportunity.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. And who knows, whatever they create could go on to become a series, or could go on to become a movie that the studio would do. So it's something to look into, and go look for it, and God bless you all.
Awesome. Thank you, Sam. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And it's been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.
a few closing thoughts, guys. First, we're so grateful you took the time to listen today. It really means a lot to us to be able to share our journey with you. Second, if you got any value or inspiration from this episode, please take a minute to leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. Lastly, remember, your story matters. So go for it today and live the outbound life.